Have you ever wondered what life really looks like after 80? It's a time filled with both quiet moments and harsh realities that few talk about openly. As the years add up, many seniors face challenges that go beyond physical health, loneliness, fading independence, and the feeling of being forgotten by the world around them. These struggles are often silent, hidden behind polite smiles and everyday routines. But understanding these truths is crucial, not just for those experiencing them, but for families and communities too. In this video, we'll explore the 5 brutal realities every senior must understand about aging loneliness. By shining a light on these experiences, we can foster compassion, connection, and hope for a better quality of life in the golden years. Stay with us as we uncover these essential truths. Section 1. The loneliness that no one talks about. Have you ever looked out the window and watched the world go by, realizing that it no longer feels like it belongs to you? That is the quiet, creeping loneliness many people over 80 experience every day. It's not a loneliness caused simply by being alone, but by feeling disconnected from a world they once felt a part of. Friends pass away. Children get caught up in their own busy lives. Spouses die, neighbors move, and the rhythm of everyday life shifts until a once bustling home becomes a still and silent space. For many elderly individuals, the television becomes a companion, the ticking clock becomes the loudest sound in the room, and the mailman may be the only person they see all day. Loneliness at this age is a unique kind of suffering. It's layered with grief, regret, and a growing sense of irrelevance. The elderly are often spoken less, touched less, and visited less frequently. Their stories, rich with decades of experience, are too often ignored or dismissed as outdated. As mobility decreases and health problems grow, getting out becomes harder. Church groups, senior centers, or even grocery store runs become rare outings, and the chance for human interaction diminishes with each passing week. What once were simple routines, morning chats with neighbors, weekend family gatherings, slowly disappear. And in their place, a deep silence settles in. This loneliness is not just emotional, it's physical. Studies have shown that chronic loneliness can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases the risk of dementia, heart disease, depression, and even premature death. But beyond the data, there's the lived experience. Lying awake at night with no one to talk to, waking up with no plans, going days without hearing your own name spoken. It's a suffering that's invisible to the outside world, but deeply real to those going through it. And worst of all, many seniors feel shame in expressing it. They believe they should be strong, stoic, or grateful for simply being alive. So they suffer in silence. The truth is, no matter how independent someone may have been in their youth, no one is immune to loneliness. Human beings are wired for connection at every age, and the elderly who have given so much of themselves throughout their lives deserve to feel seen, heard, and valued. They deserve more than occasional check-ins or brief phone calls. They need genuine, heartfelt connection, because at 80 and beyond, it's not just about surviving, it's about continuing to feel human. And that starts with not turning away from a loneliness they carry, but gently, intentionally walking beside them through it. Section 2. Physical decline and loss of independence. As the years go by and the body begins to age, one of the hardest truths to face is the gradual but undeniable physical decline that comes with it. After the age of 80, the body often no longer cooperates the way it once did. Movements become slower, balance becomes more fragile, and everyday tasks that were once done without a second thought, like climbing stairs, getting dressed, or even preparing a simple meal, start to feel like major undertakings. This physical decline doesn't just change what a person can do, it fundamentally alters how they see themselves and how they move through the world. For many seniors, the loss of physical strength and coordination is frustrating and disheartening. Hands that once built homes, cooked family dinners, or carried grandchildren now tremble when lifting a glass of water. Legs that once hiked hills or danced at weddings now ache after a short walk. Simple acts like bending down to tie a shoelace or reaching for a high shelf can carry the risk of a dangerous fall. These physical limitations can lead to a growing fear, not just of injury, but of losing even more autonomy. That fear can lead to withdrawal, where seniors begin avoiding activities or outings altogether, reinforcing a cycle of decline. But beyond the physical struggle lies something even more painful: the slow erosion of independence. For a person who has spent a lifetime making decisions, leading a household, raising children, or building a career, needing help to bathe or use the bathroom can feel deeply humiliating. The shift from being a provider to being someone who requires constant assistance can shatter self-esteem and provoke feelings of helplessness or even worthlessness. This dependence can strain relationships with caregivers or family members, no matter how loving or patient they are, simply because the loss of personal dignity is so hard to accept. The emotional toll of this transition is immense. Seniors may grieve for the life they once had, the energy, the confidence, the freedom. They may feel a profound sadness as they let go of hobbies they once loved, or as they realize they can no longer drive or live alone safely. This grief is often silent, tucked behind polite smiles and brave faces. But it is real and it cuts deep. For many, the home becomes a reminder of what they can no longer do, filled with unused rooms, forgotten tools, or dusty exercise equipment that now feels like relics of a past life. What's most heartbreaking is that many elders feel guilty for being a burden. They don't want to ask for help. They don't want to slow anyone down. So they suffer in silence, masking their pain with quiet resignation. The loss of independence, paired with declining health, is not just a physical reality, it's a psychological wound that many carry with them each day. And while physical aging is inevitable, the compassion, support, and understanding we extend to those going through it can make all the difference. Because no one deserves to feel abandoned within their own body. Section 3. Being forgotten or ignored by society. Growing old should come with respect, dignity, and a sense of honor for a life well lived. But for many people over the age of 80, what they experience instead is a painful invisibility, a feeling that they've become forgotten by the very society they helped shape. It's not just about being physically alone, but about feeling emotionally and culturally erased. Seniors often find themselves sidelined in conversations, overlooked in public, and neglected in policies that fail to take their needs seriously. As the world races forward with new technologies and fast-changing social norms, the elderly are too often left behind, silently watching from the margins. This sense of being forgotten doesn't happen all at once. It creeps in slowly. It begins when no one asks their opinion anymore, when invitations stop coming, when doctors or younger family members speak over them instead of to them. It deepens when advertising, media, and pop culture stop reflecting people of their age, as if aging itself is something to be hidden or ignored. And it becomes painfully clear when they visit public spaces and find few accommodations for their mobility, their hearing, their vision. Bit by bit, it sends a message: you don't matter as much anymore. For someone who has lived a full life, who has loved, lost, built, sacrificed, and contributed to society, this message is a cruel betrayal. Many seniors remember a time when elders were valued for their wisdom, where multi-generational households offered them a respected place at the table. But now, in a culture obsessed with youth and productivity, aging can feel like a curse. When a person is no longer able to produce, earn, or keep up, their worth seems to diminish in the eyes of the world. And that perceived worthlessness can lead to devastating emotional consequences, depression, anxiety, and a deep internalized shame. What's worse is that many elders don't speak up about this pain because they don't want to seem bitter or needy. They suffer silently, smiling politely when younger people talk past them or ignore them altogether. They may even internalize the belief that they are no longer relevant. But no human being becomes less valuable with age. If anything, those who have lived the longest have the most to offer, in stories, in wisdom, in perspective. The tragedy is that society is too busy, too distracted, or too indifferent to listen. Being forgotten is not just about being left off a party list or skipped during conversation. It's about losing visibility, respect, and belonging in a world that is supposed to care for all its people, not just the young and able. The elderly deserve more than quiet corners and empty calendars. They deserve to be seen, heard, and included. Because being remembered isn't just about the past, it's about reminding someone that they still matter, right here and now. Section 4. Regret and Reflection. By the time someone reaches their 80s, they've accumulated decades of memories, experiences, and choices, some joyful, others painful. In the quiet moments of later life, when the noise of daily responsibilities has faded and the pace has slowed, many seniors find themselves turning inward. Reflection becomes a daily companion, and along with it often comes regret. Not all regrets are dramatic or overwhelming. Some are subtle, like missed conversations, lost time with loved ones, or chances not taken. But even the smallest regrets can grow heavy when there's no longer the illusion of limitless time to make things right. For many people in their 80s, regrets often revolve around relationships. Words that were left unsaid, grudges that lasted too long, or the painful distance between family members become frequent visitors in their thoughts. They remember friends who've passed away without a proper goodbye, or children who've grown up and moved far away, busy with their own lives. These moments of loss and disconnection can feel sharp in the stillness of old age, especially when there's a deep longing for closeness. Sometimes the hardest part is not being able to undo what's been done, or go back to say, "I'm sorry," or "I love you one more time." Career decisions and life paths also surface during these quiet reflections. Some wonder what might have happened if they had taken a different route, chosen a different job, pursued a passion, or had the courage to follow a dream. Even those who lived successful, meaningful lives can be haunted by the roads not taken. There is a particular kind of sorrow that comes with realizing that certain opportunities are no longer within reach. That recognition doesn't always come with bitterness, but with a quiet ache, a wish that time could rewind, even for just a day. And then there are regrets of inaction. The things not done often linger more painfully than the mistakes made. Not spending more time with aging parents before they passed, not traveling when the body was still able, not saying yes to new experiences out of fear or doubt. These regrets don't scream, they whisper. They show up in the early hours of the morning, in the silence of an empty room, or when a familiar song stirs an old memory. There's no way to erase them, only to carry them and, if possible, make peace with them. But reflection isn't always painful. It can be a source of deep insight and healing. Many seniors eventually come to understand that life was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be lived, messily, bravely, and with heart. The process of looking back can bring clarity and even forgiveness, both toward others and oneself. It reminds them that while they may not have been flawless, they were human. They tried, they loved, they failed and got back up again. And that in itself is something to honor. Still, the quiet weight of regret is one of the brutal realities of life after 80. Not because it defines the person, but because it reminds them how precious time truly is. Section 5. Fear of Death and Dying Alone. As people cross into their 80s, the presence of death is no longer a distant shadow. It becomes a quiet but constant companion. Friends begin to pass away more frequently, health challenges grow more serious, and mortality becomes not just a concept, but a nearing certainty. For many seniors, the fear of death is not about the end itself, but about how it will come, slowly or suddenly, painfully or peacefully, and most of all, whether anyone will be there when it happens. The fear of dying alone can be more terrifying than death itself. This fear grows deeper for those who live by themselves, whose families have moved far away, or who've lost their spouses. The once lively house becomes quieter with every passing year, and the silence is filled not with peace, but with a sense of isolation. Even daily routines, making breakfast, watching the news, taking a walk, can become reminders of solitude. The thought of facing one's final moments without a familiar voice, a hand to hold, or even someone to notice they're gone, is a haunting one. It's not just about physical aloneness, it's about emotional abandonment in the most vulnerable moment of life. Death is something that many younger people avoid talking about, but for those in their 80s, it's a subject that can't be ignored. They think about it while attending yet another funeral, or when a doctor gently delivers test results with softened eyes. They feel it in their bones when getting out of bed becomes harder, when hospital visits become routine, and when their bodies start betraying them in small, humiliating ways. There's a profound vulnerability in aging, a realization that strength is fading, and that the end is not just inevitable, but approaching. What makes this fear more painful is the cultural silence around it. Society often avoids open conversations about death, especially with the elderly. Seniors may sense that speaking about their fears makes others uncomfortable, so they keep them hidden. They smile through the ache, nod politely during visits, and say they're fine, even when they're filled with anxiety. But beneath that calm surface, many are simply scared. Scared not only of how they will die, but of whether they will matter when they do. There's also the spiritual side of this fear. Some worry about what comes next. Others fear that they will die with unresolved guilt or broken relationships. There's often a need for closure, a last conversation, a final hug, a moment to express something that's been carried in the heart for too long. Without those moments, death can feel incomplete, like a book missing its last chapter. And for those who no longer have a close family or community, there may be no one left to help write that ending with compassion and love. Ultimately, the fear of death and dying alone is not about weakness. It's about being human. Everyone wants to feel connected, remembered, and held, especially in their final moments. The tragedy is that so many people reach the end of their lives without that comfort. It's a brutal reality of aging that's too often ignored, yet deeply deserving of empathy, conversation, and care. Because while death is inevitable, dying in fear or in loneliness should not be. Final thoughts, turning pain into power. Reaching the later stages of life often brings a deep, sobering awareness of time, its beauty, its cruelty, and its irreversible passing. For those in their 80s, pain comes in many forms: the ache of loneliness, the weight of regret, the frailty of the body, and the quiet fear of what lies ahead. But within all this pain lies something else, something quietly powerful. It's the wisdom that can only be earned through decades of living. It's the strength that has been forged in loss, love, failure, and resilience. And it's the unspoken truth that even in the final chapters, the story is still being written. Pain has a way of revealing what truly matters. It strips away the superficial and brings focus to the people, memories, and values that give life its deepest meaning. An older man who has lost his independence may discover the quiet courage to ask for help, and in doing so, form new bonds of trust. A woman grieving the death of lifelong friends might begin sharing her stories with younger generations, becoming a living library of love and history. These acts are not small. They are profound. They show that pain doesn't have to lead to bitterness. It can be the soil where compassion grows. Turning pain into power isn't about ignoring the harsh realities of aging. It's about choosing to respond with dignity, grace, and purpose. It's in finding new ways to stay connected, even when family is distant. It's in writing letters, recording memories, or simply showing up for someone else who feels forgotten. It's in the decision to keep getting out of bed, keep hoping, and keep giving, even when no one is watching. That kind of strength is invisible to the eye, but deeply felt by the soul. It inspires everyone it touches. The final years of life don't have to be defined by sorrow or loss. They can be shaped by intention, meaning, and legacy. Each breath, each conversation, each small act of kindness becomes a powerful message. I'm still here. I still matter. And I still have something to give. There's beauty in that message. There's power in it. Because no matter how hard aging may be, the human spirit, when nurtured, can shine even in the darkest twilight. And that light, passed on to others, becomes eternal.